Welcome to Behind Closed Doors. Lock your doors, turn down the lights, and let the silence in. You trust your furniture. You shouldn't. And the worst part is, you don't even realize what it's learning from you. Look around you right now. Don't just glance. Actually look. When was the last time you really noticed this room in the quiet, supposedly impenetrable safety of your own living room? We all do it, don't we? We purchase these objects. We arrange them with such careful, deliberate intention to create a sanctuary, a soft, welcoming barrier against the heavy, crushing demands of the outside world. We believe with absolute, unquestioning certainty, after a long day, when you're too tired to talk, too tired to explain yourself, this is where you come. That this space is entirely ours. That these walls, these rugs, these cushions are inert, silent servants, waiting, just waiting for us to cast our heavy bodies down upon them. But what if that silence isn't obedience? What if it's simply patience? Think about the nature of a room late at night when the doors are locked and the chaotic hum of the city fades into a distant, hollow murmur. The air grows thick, doesn't it? It settles. And in that heavy stillness, the objects you ignore all day begin to assert their presence. They don't move. They don't have to. They simply exist, anchoring the space, holding onto the residual energy you've casually left behind. Consider the centerpiece of this illusion, your sofa. The dark, sprawling leather sitting in the center of the room, basking in the cold, flickering blue light of a television broadcasting to an empty room. It is designed for comfort, designed to mold to your shape, to swallow your exhaustion. But comfort is a very dangerous thing when it becomes a tool for avoidance. Every single time you sat there staring blankly at the screen, choosing the glowing pixels over a conversation with the person sitting right next to you, the sofa was there. The sofa felt the shift in your weight. The leather absorbed it, heavy sighs of your apathy. That moment when someone says your name and you pretend you didn't hear it. It drank in the coldness of your indifference, drop by drop, day after day, year after year. You thought you were just resting your body, but you were actually emptying your neglect into its seams. We leave emotional footprints everywhere we go. And you already know exactly which spot in this room holds the worst of it, don't you? But nowhere are they deeper. Nowhere are they more permanently etched than in the places where we refuse to feel. Listen. No. Really, listen. Not the TV, not the noise. Listen to what's underneath it. Beyond the low, electric hum of the television screen, there is a sound in the room, a sound that shouldn't be there. It's not the wind pressing against the window pane. It's not the house settling into its foundation. No, it is the slow, agonizing sound of pressure. Do you hear it? The agonizing groan of old wood and the tight, strained stretching of distressed brown leather. It is the sound of weight being applied. But look closely at the surface. There is no one there. The room is entirely devoid of human life. The shadows are undisturbed. Yet, right there, in the very center of the cushions, the dark, worn leather is slowly, inexorably pressing downward. It sinks. Inch by agonizing inch, it is forming a shape. And the disturbing part, it fits perfectly. A hollow, invisible mold of a human being, The material is buckling under the immense, unseen pressure of a phantom occupant. It's as if all the heaviness you've ever brought into this room, all the unspoken words, all the suppressed anger, all the cold, bitter isolation has finally gathered itself together and taken a seat. It is heavy, so impossibly heavy. The weight of your apathy is no longer just a concept. It is a physical force. And now, watch the armrest. Focus your eyes on the taut, smooth expanse of the brown leather right where your hand usually rests, right where your fingers tap impatiently while you ignore the world around you. A line is beginning to form. It is not a tear from a sharp object. It is a slow, methodical parting of the material. A singular, deliberate scratch manifesting out of thin air. It looks exactly like a mark left by a desperate fingernail, clawing, scratching, trying to hold on. It tenses, it rips, revealing the dark, fibrous void underneath the polished exterior. This isn't an accident. This isn't wear and tear. This is a message. It is a receipt for all the emotional debts you thought you could simply walk away from. The room has kept a perfect, flawless tally. Every time you turned your back, every time you closed your eyes to the pain of others, every time you let the coldness win, you added another thread to this trap. You thought you were alone in here. You thought the stillness of the room meant you were safe from the consequences of your own cold heart. You believed that what happens in the quiet of your home stays buried in the quiet of your home. But the room remembers. The leather remembers. It has absorbed everything you refused to deal with. And now it is full. It cannot take any more of your hollow emptiness. It is beginning to give it back. The glitch has started. The illusion of your peaceful, normal life is fracturing right in front of your eyes. The sanctuary you built to hide from your responsibilities is slowly, silently locking its doors from the inside. The silence isn't empty anymore. The silence is suffocating, and it is waiting for you to finally sit down. Think about the architecture of a normal, everyday life. You wake up. You leave the safety of your home. You endure the relentless, grinding pressure of the outside world. But what are you really working for? Why do you push through the exhaustion? You are working to come back, to return to the absolute center of your universe, the living room. And right there, positioned with careful, deliberate intention in the middle of that sanctuary, is the anchor, your sofa. It is not just a piece of furniture, is it? No, it is an island, a soft, forgiving island floating in a sea of hard, unforgiving obligations. When we build our lives, we don't arrange our homes around the dining table. We build them around the couch. We angle our screens towards it. We design our entire existence around the singular, desperate act of finally sitting down. We crave that gravity. We long for that gentle pull that tells our weary bones they no longer have to support their own weight. Look at him. This is Mark. Or at least someone who thought he was still in control. He is 40 years old, but right now, trapped in the pale, flickering blue light of the television screen, he looks older. He looks entirely emptied out. Look at the deep, heavy lines around his eyes. Look at the way his shoulders slump, thoroughly defeated by the day. He is wearing a light blue dress shirt, the collar unbuttoned, the fabric deeply wrinkled and creased. It is the uniform of a man who has just spent 8 long, suffocating hours selling his time, his energy, his very soul to a world that doesn't care about him. The transition from the harsh reality of the outside to the absolute surrender of the living room is instantaneous. One moment you are fighting the current, and the next you are here, sinking, surrendering, fading into the background. This is the moment we all chase, isn't it? The moment the mind simply shuts off. But Mark is not just resting, he is hiding. The worn leather of the Chesterfield sofa rises up to meet him, cold at first, but quickly, eagerly warming to his body heat. It accepts him completely. It accepts his failures. It accepts his fatigue. It asks absolutely no questions. It demands no answers. It just swallows him whole. We tend to think of these objects as blind, deaf, and entirely dumb. But think of what this leather has quietly witnessed. Think of the immense, unseen history trapped within its dark brown seams. It knows the exact, unique contour of your spine. It remembers the heavy, sudden impacts of a Sunday afternoon, screaming at a sports game, the room alive with temporary manufactured passion. It holds the microscopic evidence, the tiny crumbs of 100 rushed, silent dinners, eaten alone in the dark, while the rest of the house sleeps. It remembers the restless naps, the tossing and turning, when the anxiety of tomorrow becomes too heavy to bear in a real bed. The couch is the silent partner of our modern isolation. We share more of our raw, unfiltered selves with these cushions than we do with our own families. When we are angry, we retreat here. When we are sad, we curl up here in the shadows. When we simply cannot face the reality of our lives for one more exhausting second, we fall into its embrace. It is a monument, a soft, leathery monument to our quietest, most desperate moments of surrender. And through it all, it remains perfectly still. A loyal, unwavering companion. Or so it carefully pretends to be. This is the profound, dangerous illusion of normalcy. We are convinced, utterly, stubbornly convinced, that because we purchased this object, because we carried it into our home, it is entirely subservient to us. We look at its worn patches, the slightly faded color where the sunlight hits it every afternoon, and we feel a false sense of ownership, a false sense of safety. We blindly believe that a space designed specifically for comfort cannot possibly harbor any ill intent. Why would it? It is just leather. It is just foam. It is just dead wood. But true comfort is the perfect, flawless disguise. When you are truly comfortable, your guard drops completely. Your awareness fades into nothing. You stop paying attention to the dark edges of the room. You stop listening to the subtle warning shifts in the air. You let the digital lullaby of the television wash over you, keeping you perfectly, safely numb. Mark sits there, his eyes heavy, his mind floating miles away. He thinks he is safe. He thinks he is in control. He firmly believes the sofa is holding him up. But the truth, the quiet, terrifying truth of the universe is that every action leaves a trace. Every ounce of apathy, every moment of intentional neglect, that heavy, toxic energy has to go somewhere. It doesn't just vanish into the cold air. It sinks. It permeates. The illusion of the sanctuary is exactly what makes the trap so inescapable. You never even look for the cage. When you are the one who willingly locked the door, from the inside.